Here's how to use Photopea.com to turn the drawing you made of a character into the basis of a puppet to be used in Adobe Character Animator. Go to Open from Computer and navigate to your Character folder, where you should have had the sample files, the original scans or photos of the images that you sketched, and you should have two different .pst files. I've only created one. Mine's a full shot of my character, and I call the character Jim. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. Now remember, when you created this, you have a background layer that was the original image, and you turned that off. And then you created a version of it that got rid of all of the background. And so that's what the checkerboard pattern shows, is that it's transparent. All right, we're going to use this as the basis of the character. But the first thing we need to do is go down here to the new folder icon and click on it and change the name of the folder. Start with a plus and then type the name of your character. This one's called Jim. Next, we're going to create a folder for the head of the character. So I'm going to go down here and do new folder, double click it, and type head. Now this head needs to be within the character folder, so I'm going to go ahead and just drag it into the, I didn't quite make it. I need to drag it right inside there. So now we can see if I close the Jim folder up, it's got the head folder in there. So let's start back to the original drawing that has transparency on it. I'm going to go over here to the Marquee selection tool. I'm going to click and hold on it until I can see the ellipse select. And then next time I choose it, I'll just use the M key. So I'm going to do ellipse. And now I'm going to click above the head and just grab all of the head and a little bit of the top of the shirt. Now that that's selected and I'm on the Jim layer, I can go to the Layer menu and choose New, Layer via Copy. But I can also use the Control and J keys. That's what I'll use from now on. Let me go ahead and make this layer. And now you can see I have a new layer. So I'm going to double click the name and change the name to Face Background. And now I'm going to drag that layer into the head folder. Oops, missed it again. Okay, here we go. Into the head folder. Come on, get it down into that head folder. I keep missing it here. There. Oh, not quite. Let's see. Wow, I got to make sure it's in there. Oh, finally I got it in there. So I've got the face background in the head folder. And with that selected, I'm going to go ahead and just turn off my Jim reference file. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. So on the view menu, you could do zoom in, but I'm going to use the Control and plus keys. And now I've zoomed in to where I can't see anything, but I can use two fingers on the touchpad and just kind of drag. I'm going the wrong direction. There we go, until I see what I'm working on. I could also use this hand tool on the left, which I could use with the letter H. But if I choose the hand tool, I have to click down and drag. So there's a couple of different ways to navigate. All right, first thing I need to do is make copies of some layers here. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit closer. And I want to make copies of some of the parts. So I'm going to use that ellipse tool again. And this time I'm just going to grab everything beyond this one eyeball here. I've gone a little bit beyond it. And I'll use Control J. And this one, I'm just going to call it right eyeball right now. So right eyeball. And then I'm going to go back to the face background, use the ellipse, Control J, call it left eyeball. And then back to the face, I'm going to go ahead and grab the nose. Believe it or not, this is supposed to be a nose. And I'll rename that nose. And then back to the face background, I'm going to go ahead and choose the mouth. Now, I didn't quite get it, but I can move this selection area to reposition it, so I make sure I include all the mouth. Of course, then I clicked away from it, so that wasn't good, but here we go. Let's see if I can use my up and down cursor keys on the keyboard and just kind of reposition it. And now, making sure I have the face background layer chosen, I'll just do Control J again, and I'll call this one mouth. All right. So what I need to do is clean up each of these. So I'm going to turn off face background, and I'll start by turning off the eyeballs and the nose. And I just want to clean up what the mouth looks like. So I'm going to go over here to the side and choose the magic wand. Now, if you click on this, you'll see there's 3 different types of selections with this using the W, but I want to use the magic wand. So with mouth layer selected, I'll just click on this, and then Control X to cut it away. And now Control D to go ahead and remove the selection. And that's the mouth. All right, let's go to the nose. Do the same thing, W for the wand. Control X to delete, Control D to remove it, but I've got part of an eyeball there. So I'm going to go to the eraser tool. I could choose it with E, just want to make sure it's just the eraser tool, not the background eraser. And now, let me just zoom it in a bit and reposition. And now with the eraser, I can just click and drag on it and erase the parts I don't need. So now I have the nose. So I'll turn on the left eyeball. Now let me turn the nose off. Make sure I have the eyeball selected. Reposition so I can see a little bit better. Go to W, click on it, Control X, Control D. Yeah, it looks like nothing I need to use for the eraser. So now I'll go to the right eyeball, make sure I have the layer selected, move it over a bit, use the W, click on it, Control X, Control D, and now I'll go to that E for the eraser tool and get rid of some of this extra stuff that's on here. All right. Oh, I think I guess I'll just use this here. And I'll use the wand to get rid of this last bit here. And Control D. All right, so let me zoom out with Control minus, turn back on these pieces here. And where is it at? There it is. There's the mouth and everything. Now, the thing is, I only want them to appear here, so I'm going to turn all of these off. And now I'm going to go back to the face background, turn it on. And what I'm going to do is use this eyedropper tool to go ahead and click and get the background color, the face color. And notice down here, I've changed the color I'm using. So now I can go to the brush tool and start getting rid of these. Now this is kind of a small brush, so I can go up here to the settings and make it bigger, and I can make it a little bit soft on the edge. And now I can just go in here and erase by basically coloring over all these parts that I've already made copies of. So now if I zoom out to the face, reposition it, I'm going to go up to here to this selection tool here, or move tool. Okay, let me turn these back on. So there's the right eyeball, the left eyeball, the nose, and the mouth. But there's some other things that need to be done with the eyeballs. First of all, I'll turn off these other parts, and I'll start with the right eyeball. So I actually need a folder called right eyeball. So I'll click on the folder, right eyeball. Now I'm going to drag this image into that folder. Let's see if I can do it better this time. And now I'm going to double click the name and just get rid of where it says right. I'll just call it eyeball. With the eyeball layer selected, I'm going to press the M key to make sure I'm using the selection tool. I'm going to draw an ellipse just to include the pupil, and then use Control J to make a copy of it. And then I'm going to change the name of this layer to plus right pupil. The plus is important so that the pupil can move once it becomes a puppet. All right, I'm going to turn off the pupil for right now, go back to the eyeball, And now I'm going to go ahead and use the eyedropper tool to grab the color of the eye itself. And then I'm going to use the brush tool and brush out the pupil, because I've already made a copy of it. And just to make sure I do, I can turn the pupil back on, and there it is. All right, now I'm going to, with this eyeball layer selected, I'm just going to press Control J and call this layer right blink. And I need to move it right above the right pupil. So we'll keep the right pupil on. We have the right blink, but what I need to change for the right blink is the color that fills it in. So I'm going to use the eyedropper, grab the color of the face, change the foreground color here. Now I can go here to the fill tool. So I'm going to press down on it. Instead of using the gradient tool, I want to use the paint bucket. So with the paint bucket selected, and with the right blink layer selected, I can click in here and change the color. And so the effect is going to be this. Here's with the eye open, and here's with it closed. Closed, open. Anyway, that's the idea, showing a blink. So however you decide your eye is going to look for blinking, that's the way I did mine. All right, I need to do the same thing for the left eyeball. So let's see, I'll select the left eyeball layer, make it visible. I'll go ahead and create a new folder. I need to double click the name to change it, call it left eyeball. Drag this left eyeball into that folder. Change the name of this to just eyeball. Use the M tool to go ahead and select the pupil, making sure I've got the eyeball layer selected. Control J. Change the name of this new layer to pupil. And then go back to eyeball. And let's see. Oh, I need to get the color of the eye. And then use the brush to wipe out the pupil. Oh, you know what? I don't see it because I have things covered. Oh, it's the pupil. I'm going to turn off the pupil right now. So there it is. I'm going to go ahead and do this to make sure it's not there. I'm going to have the pupil off, otherwise it'll show up. And then I'm going to show you how to fix the pupils here in a second. Okay, so I've got this done. So I'm going to make a copy of the eyeball layer. Control J. I'm going to move this up above the pupil. Call it left blink. Do the same thing. Grab the face color with the left blink selected. Use the fill bucket. You click in it. Now, I think there's some things I forgot to do with the pupil, and I got to check this because we did clean up some things, but let me turn this off and turn off the eyeball. Oh, I need to turn the pupil on. Ah, there you go. See how it's not just the pupil, it's got that white. So I'm going to use the wand tool W, click on it, Control X to delete it, Control D, looks good. Okay, let me go over here to the right eyeball and make sure that that pupil looks good. I got to do the same thing. So I'll choose the right pupil layer, use W to collect that, and Control X to delete it, and Control D. All right, so now I have just the pupils. I have the eyeballs behind them, and then I also have what it's going to look like when it blinks. But I want to make sure the blink is turned off. All right, I've done quite a bit on this, and before I finish up the face, well, actually, I'm going to go ahead and finish it up because we're just about done. We've got the eyes, we've got the nose, so I've got to go ahead and make sure the nose is going to be visible, and I got to make sure the mouth is visible. And the only thing I think we need to do is, let me zoom this out, is to clean up the actual head. So I'm going to go ahead and move down here to the bottom, and with the face background selected, I'm going to go ahead and use the wand key just to get rid of a couple of things. Make it a little bit easier. Oops. And now I can use the eraser and kind of go through here. Whoops. Am I on the wrong layer? Oh, you know what? I forgot to deselect. So Control D, and now the eraser will work. Yeah, see, if I've selected something, it'll only let me erase in that spot. So I just got to make sure I erase a bunch of this stuff here. Yeah. I know it's a little tough using a trackpad, but you can get the job done. All right, so let me just erase this over here. And now I think I've got the head done. So let me zoom it out. And I've waited a while to save this, but it's good to save it often as you're working on it. And so what I'm going to do is go to the File menu, and I want to save it as a PSD. Now in my folder, I don't want to use the same name. I'm going to change the name, so it's instead of Full Shot, it's going to be Full Shot Puppet. And then I'll put a number 1 next to it, so I know this is the first time, the first version of me as I'm creating the puppet version of it. And then I'll save that. It's important to keep the .psd on there as you do it, and then save it in your folder. All right, the head is almost done, but I just realized there's a couple of things that my character doesn't have that your character might, and that's eyebrows. So I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in a bit to the eyes. Well, you know, boy, I'm just curious if I could use something from my drawing as an eyebrow. They would be kind of funny. I think I will. So I've got the face background here. I'm just going to go ahead and use the ellipse selection tool and grab this and make a copy of it. And then I'll turn off the background so I can see what it looks like. I'll use W and clean off that and clean off this. And now I'll deselect, and I can go up here to the Edit menu and use the Free Transform tool, which is Alt-Control-T. And now I can kind of rotate it over. And let's say that's an eyebrow. So I'll call that plus right eyebrow. And I'm just going to make a copy of it. I'm going to change that name to left eyebrow. All right, so I'm going to make sure I have left eyebrow selected. And then let me see, what was that command for free? Alt-Control-T. So Alt-Control-T should do the trick. Let's see what happens. Alt-Control-T. It doesn't work. It crashes. So let's see if I can just use it from the menu here. Free Transform. Move it on over. And then hit Enter. Boy, you know what? It didn't do the trick. So let me try it again. Left eyebrow. Free Transform. Move it. Rotate it. Make it look like an eyebrow of some kind. Hit Enter. There it is. So I've gone ahead, and let me zoom this out now and turn on the face background. I've got some eyebrows, and I think the right one's a little bit high, so I'm going to go ahead and use this Move tool, V, and just kind of hold the cursor keys to move it down and reposition it a bit. And I'm going to click on the left eyebrow here since I didn't draw this as part of my drawing. But because I have pluses in front of these, this is going to let them animate. So I'm going to go ahead and reposition where they are. So let me scroll over here in my layers. I'm going to close the head. Oh, actually, I'm going to close the eyeballs here. So close the eyeballs. I'm going to click on the left eyebrow, hold Shift. So, click on the right eyebrow and move both of these above the head folder, so right below the Jim character. So they need to be right underneath Jim, but outside of the head one. And the reason for that is that they're going to be animated separately from the head. All right, so now the head is done. So now I can go ahead and save it, and it's good to save often. I've saved it once earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and save it again to the File menu here. Go File, Save as PSD. Make sure I'm in my character folder. Notice there's the one I saved before. If I select that, but now I want to change the number on it. So I'm going to go ahead and change it to a 2, and then click Save. So one thing you should do before you finish with the head is just double check everything. So I've got the left and the eyebrow and the right eyebrow at the top. I've got the head folder. I want to check in the right eyeball here. I've got right blink, right pupil, the eyeball. But let's take a look at the left eyeball. Oh, here's a mistake I made here. So this pupil needs to be named plus left pupil. And I've got these layers. I've got the nose and the mouth. Oh, and you know what? I'm going to drag the mouth layer up. So I'm going to close these here. And I want to go ahead and click and drag this right up, right underneath head. So it's above everything else. So the order will be like this, it'll make it easier for me later on when you send me this file. But there you go. That takes care of the head. And then make sure you save this version of it. In the next video, you're going to learn how to actually work on the body.